a very important aspect of the Time-Weber philosophy is our strong belief in the self-healing power which is within every human being. The self-healing power doesn't mean that we are able to heal ourselves in a sense of course, responsibility for our own health, but more in the sense of we can do something ourselves to heal ourselves. But it means that there is something very deep within us which we might call the self, which is a cause of healing, and which might also be the cause of suffering or problems or diseases. So this is a perspective on life and reality which understands that we are not the only cause of things happening, but there is a deeper cause within ourselves, but also within whole reality, which we can call the self. So self-healing in this perspective is always caused by impulses from the self, impulses from within, which intend to get us on a higher level of consciousness or a higher level of being. If you're facing a problem, like take a disease, it is always a hint that we are stuck on a certain level of realization, on a certain level of consciousness in our life, and then there is an underlying conflict which holds us on this level of consciousness. And on this level of consciousness, on this level of the way how we deal in our life, normally or very often we do not find a solution. We do not find a solution, and therefore we are stuck. So that we don't find a solution might be because the solution is not available on this level, but it needs a different, or you can say a higher level of consciousness to look at the same problem and see, or to look at the same conflict and see it's not a problem, or it's not a conflict, or it can be solved by a higher level of acting and perceiving. It's like if you have some bad weather in a valley, like fog and maybe some thundering or lightning is going on in a valley between two mountains. When you climb up the hill, you can look down to this scene. It doesn't mean that the conflict or the bad weather is not there anymore. It is still there, but it is there on a lower level of reality, on a lower level of consciousness. So some problems might not be possible to solve on this level, but you have to just climb up the mountain. So this climbing up the mountain is not always possible just by a conscious endeavor. But it is in many cases only possible by, first of all, perceiving that there is a helping power from within, that there are impulses from the self which almost try to urge us to go in the right direction, but which we normally are not integrating in our life or in our consciousness, but we have actually a defense wall. We have kind of a firewall which protects us from these forces from inside. So if we open up to these impulses from the self, which are there always, if we open up and develop a strategy to integrate it in our conscious perspective of life, we naturally will come to a higher perspective, to a higher perception of meaning in our life, to a higher level, and we can escape the reason where the problem is really troubling. The work with Time-Weber is not intended to superimpose a solution on the situation where the problem is, but the work with Time-Weber is meant to give exactly these impulses from a deeper level and to help us to integrate it. Impulses from the informational field, or impulses from the deeper level of reality, of inner reality. And it is up to the person who, the patient or the person who works with time weather to integrate these impulses from the informational field which he gets. For example, if you do a time weather analysis, you are getting sometimes long lists of information which are related to your present situation, which might be related to the disease which you're facing, and which give you an insight about the underlying reality. And these impulses can help you, for example, by consciously understanding what's going on a deeper level. But the same impulses can also reach you through another channel than just understanding in an intellectual way. Understanding in an intellectual way is only one way to deal with it, and if you only work on this level, it will not be sufficient. You also have to work on the level of feeling, you have to work on the level of sensing with your senses, and you have to work through the function of intuition. So if you combine these four functions, you can not only perceive these impulses coming from the informational field, but you can also integrate it in your life, in your consciousness. So it's always an impulse which can come from the informational field through time weather, and your own active work to integrate it into your life. So it's an active process which takes place normally not just between the time weather system and the informational field and the client or the patient, but it takes place within the field which is established between the therapist or the user of time weather and the patient and the informational field.